Hi, and welcome back to another segment of Life Changing Solutions. And today we have Ron Christensen with us for our Ask the Therapist segment from brought to you by Alta Wellness. Did you like that little sponsor thing
Thank
in there? So welcome.
Thank you.
Well, thanks to you guys, we actually have some questions for you all. We had a few people, just putting everything on there, and I really appreciate you guys, the audience, for participating and willing to be vulnerable like that and share with us. So I'm just gonna start rapid firing these questions, if you don't mind.
Okay, sounds good.
So the first question is from a male. He says, I'm bipolar and do not like taking my meds because I don't need them all of the time, only when I have an episode. Is there a way to tell when I'm about to have an episode so that I can take my meds and avoid it?
So that question, we do want to be very, very careful with psychotropic medications. And all decisions about taking medications really should be in conjunction with advice from your doctor. So certainly I would consult with a doctor about when and how to take your medications, because the doctor is going to know the best about what effects there are by stopping and by starting, any interactions with other medications that you might be taking, that kind of thing. So that's super important, and it can be kind of dangerous to try to make decisions about that on your own. Now, having said that, though, kind of the idea that I think you're asking is that do we have to always rely on medications? And the answer to that is not necessarily, because if we watch the TV commercials, sometimes we get the impression that bipolar is just a chemical imbalance and it's all biochemical and that's all there is to it, and that's certainly not true. The metaphor that I like to use for bipolar and other types of conditions like that is that it's kind of like a puzzle. And so you have lots of different pieces that make up the entire puzzle, the whole picture. And one of the puzzle pieces is certainly that biochemical part that is the idea of responding to the medication. But with bipolar, we also have thinking patterns, we have family dynamics, we have habits or patterns of behavior sometimes. For example, one of the things that is highly connected to bipolar is kind of all or nothing type thinking that tends to make people go up and down and go to the different extremes in their behavior. So those types of behavior patterns are usually very connected to bipolar situation. So what can be done with the medication, like I said, consulting with the doctor, you can practice and work on changing some of those other puzzle pieces, and then go to your doctor and say, look, I'm doing really well with these other things, and it seems like I'm not needing the medication as much, and then the doctor can reduce the medication and see what happens. Because as you are successful in some of those other puzzle piece areas of the condition, then you are likely to not need as much biochemical intervention. And so that's kind of the way that I would approach that. I don't think I would be trying to say, oh, gee, do I need it today or not? Because that's you making the decision rather than your doctor, and that's probably a dangerous thing to do.
And so what I'm hearing is bipolar is not like having a cold, where you feel the symptoms coming on and you're like, well, let me take some extra vitamin C or drink more water or slow it down a little bit. So you really do need to work in conjunction with your doctor and have him or her like monitor your symptoms and see, play with the dosages, but always under the supervision of a doctor.
Correct.
It's not something that you want to do by yourself or on your own and be like, hey, I'm feeling good today, so I don't need it. It's like, no.
Correct. And so rather than even looking at, okay, there's an episode coming on, we're really more effective by looking at the basic patterns of here's my thinking patterns, here's my family dynamics that tend to trigger it. What do I do about those, and how do I practice a healthy approach to those that really changes the reaction and changes my response so that I don't really have the that up and down as much. And then as that starts to even out, because I'm changing my behavior and my thinking patterns, then the medication becomes something that a doctor may say, okay, we can reduce that because you're doing well and you're not having the symptoms where that's as needed as it was in the past.
I think also in my experience, and correct me if I'm wrong, some of the things that happen as well is that since we're talking about bipolar, you have your ups and downs, and when you're feeling up and you're feeling good, that's when you feel like, oh, I don't need the medication anymore. But the medication is really meant to maintain you. And so it's not episode by episode where you take the medication it's not a cold.
That's
it's
right.
not where you need an antibiotic of some kind. You need the medication to maintain you, to keep you from having those big shifts and having it be so volatile in terms of...
and as a matter of fact, sometimes those feel better moments are the best time to work on changing patterns. Even though we tend to be a little less motivated to do that because we're not in pain or discomfort. Pain or discomfort tends to motivate. So it's less likely that during those feel-good times we practice changing patterns, but that's sometimes the best time because we are usually thinking more clearly during those times.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that. We only had enough time for one question, but keep them coming and we will do our best to start answering them. Depending on the volume, we may even start posting them on the Facebook page so that way you can keep track of them. But again, thank you for that. And just a reminder for all of you, if you have ways to submit your questions, you can go to the Alta Wellness Center Facebook page and inbox or private message them. You can also email those questions to contact@altawc.com. Or if you're interested in our services or the programs, you can always call directly at 702-901-9729. And also just reminder for everybody, tomorrow we're going to have the networking breakfast for the caregivers at 7:30. It's a free breakfast, networking, plus you're going to be able to have Ron deliver, sit in on one of Ron's lessons, and tomorrow I believe it's boundaries. So, for those of you who are in the healthcare profession, just come on in and take care of you. Use that as an opportunity for you to be able to take care of yourself. And then next week, there's a business networking breakfast. So we're also inviting everybody to that. And the address is 6655 West Sahara, Suite E100, Las Vegas, 89146. So I hope everybody really got some value out of this. Excuse me. Especially with the subject around bipolarism. It's a very misused term. So I'm glad that somebody spoke up about that, and because it gives us the opportunity to be able to inform and educate the public on bipolar.
Yeah, and then we actually, one of our general classes is about some of those thinking patterns and dynamics to, again, be healthy and, on a kind of a prevention level to prevent those kinds of ups and downs that come along with the bipolar condition.
Yeah, that's right. There are several topics. There's, in fact, one that is strictly for bipolar, but then there's also the negative thinking. Mm-hmm. Sometimes with bipolarism, you may feel depressed, so there's dealing with depression or coping with that. Goal setting for when you're not feeling too well. So, yeah, there's a little bit of everything, and that's one of the things. There's yoga.
Yeah, even yoga.
Even yoga to support you with really, being well. So, time is about to run out, and I'd like to thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
And see you in a month. And everybody, keep your questions coming. I really appreciate those. And don't forget to like and share our videos. Take care, everyone.
All right, thanks.